Welcome back, everyone. So today's Saturday and it is canning day. We went yesterday and picked a 5-gallon bucket full of Roma beans, and we washed them last night, and we ended up taking the ends off and snapping them. So there's some of the beans right there. I actually already have the first batch in the pot. And I'm waiting for them to come to a boil. Once they come to a boil, they'll stay in there for 10 minutes. Then we'll start transferring them into the jars. So canning is a little bit of a process. It's not hard by any means, but it does require several steps. For instance, with this particular canning recipe, you need to make sure that your lids for the jars that they're in warm water, and it helps them seal better. Another thing that you have to do is before you put that lid on, you need to wipe the edge of the jar to make sure there's nothing on there, no water, no nothing, and there again it helps it seal better. So it is a little bit of a process, not hard by any means, just a little bit time consuming, because once you add your beans to the pot, you have to wait for them to come to a boil, and then they boil for 10 minutes. Then you can start putting them in your jars. So, like I said, not hard. Anybody can do it. Just a little bit time consuming, and you need to make sure that you have planned ahead and make sure that you have everything ready before you begin. So you can see the ones that we did over there earlier in the week. There was 15 quarts of them. There should be at least 15 quarts today, if not more. But yeah, we'll go through the whole process, and that way you can can your stuff at home too. Okay, so the recipe is really simple. You obviously need a big stock pot to put everything in, and you're going to use a gallon of water. And in that gallon of water, you're going to put a half cup of vinegar, and then you're going to use a third cup of salt. Now, when you do your salt, when you're canning, you do not want to use iodized salt. It does not come out clear. It makes the jar seem really hazy and nasty. So make sure you get plain salt. They also make just a canning and pickling salt that you can use. Honestly, I prefer just to get plain salt. It's easier. And it's cheaper, but either one will work. So you put your gallon of water in your stock pot along with the half cup vinegar and your third cup salt, and you bring that to a boil. Make sure that the salt dissolves. Once that is to a boil, you add in your beans. Now, when you add in your beans, you don't want to overfill it. If you overfill it, then you're not going to have enough of the solution to put in the jars with the beans. So you put enough in there so that the beans are covered. And obviously with the beans going in there, it's going to cool the temperature of the solution down. So once they go in, you need to wait until the beans in the pot come to a boil. Once they begin boiling, you're going to put a timer on for 10 minutes. You see mine is actually over there at 9 now. Once they boil for 10 minutes, then you're going to start putting them in jars. And this is what I was referring to when I said that the lids needed to be warmed. You can just put them in a pot of water and turn it on low, but this helps it to seal once it goes on the jar. Okay, so in terms of what types of jars and lids to use, my personal preference, I always like to use either Ball or what was the other one that I have? Or Care, I think is the other one, Kerr. To be honest, the types of jars doesn't really matter. What really comes into play is the lids and the rings, mainly the lids. So I make it a point to always use Ball. They work really well. They seal well. Um, we have used the off-brand before, and we did not have good luck with it. The last thing you want is for all of your hard work to go to waste because the jar didn't seal. So I recommend using Ball or Care, the rings and the lids, because I've had good luck with them. But as far as the jars go, you can probably use any type. Like I said, I have Ball, I have Care. These are quart jars. We find that for our family, the quart jars work better, just because we have 3 boys and then my husband, and typically males know how to eat. So we use quart jars. Now, when your beans are come up to a boil, if they start to get to a rolling boil like this, you do need to turn the fire down some because you're not wanting to like thoroughly cook the beans. So if it happens, it's not a big deal. Just turn the fire down a little bit and let them continue to boil. And then you can put them in the jars without any issue. And I will mention that this is actually a recipe that came from Steve's grandmother. This is how we've always canned our beans. I'm sure there are other ways out there, different recipes that you can use. This is just what we use. I find that it's really simple and easy, so that's what I keep doing. Like the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, so the beans just finished. We're gonna start putting them in jars, getting the lids on, and then you set them to the side. And the way you know that they have sealed is you will actually hear that lid pop. It'll make a sound, and you'll know that it's sealed. One thing I did forget to mention is when you go to put the beans in your jars, you want to make sure that the jars are warm. I run them through my dishwasher just to make sure that they've gone through the heat cycle and that they're really warm. It does help with them sealing, so I highly recommend that. While you are starting to get your beans into the jars, make sure you leave your pot over here on low so that they can continue to simmer and be warm. You don't want to turn it off completely because then it might get too cold. I'm going to start with 6 right now. I have a wet washcloth that I'm going to use to wipe the lid right here, the ring around the jar, just to make sure that there's no debris on it. But I do that after I get done filling it. And then this little thing makes putting the beans in a whole lot easier. And at first, when you're scooping, you just want the beans. You'll add your liquid at the end. So when you're getting your beans, try to get all of the liquid out and just have your beans go in there. All right, so you'll notice that that's pretty full. Take a wooden spoon or something that you can kind of press down with. You don't want to smush the actual beans, but you do want to push them down so that they'll be packed into the jar. And see, that went way down. Now you can go in and add your liquid. Okay, so we've got our liquid added. You never want to go above this spot right here. This is just what I've been told. I don't know why, but we're gonna go with it. I don't know why. That's just what we've always done. So I'm gonna go with it. Be very careful when you pick up your jars because they are hot. You clean off the ring right here. Then you can come over here and get your lid. Have your rings ready. That's where this wet towel comes in handy. And first one's done. You set it over to the side, and once you hear it start popping, you know it is sealing. Now you'll also notice that once they're sitting over there ready to seal and you're waiting for them to seal, the beans will actually soak up a lot of the liquid, and that's totally normal. And even you might see where some of the beans are out of the liquid. There again, that's okay too. They'll look a little bit different in color, but it's nothing to really worry about. If it worries you too much, you can always take those and throw them away if you don't like it. But it's not a big deal. And another thing, don't press down on this lid up here. You want that to seal naturally. If you push it down too early, or if you touch it and it presses down, it doesn't that doesn't let you know that it's sealed. Now see, that one packed way down, so I'm going to add just a few more beans to it before I start adding liquid. Like I said, remember, don't press this. Let it seal on its own. Yes, I am short, and yes, I did just have to stand on my tippy toes. It doesn't look like we've hardly made a dent in this pan yet, but hopefully after this batch, you will actually be able to see a difference. Hopefully anyway. Okay, so one thing I didn't show you yesterday after we picked the beans was how to actually snap them. We wash our beans after we pick them. We just rinse them off to get all the dirt off. And then last night we sat around and talked in the living room as me and Steve and our two youngest boys not shelled, but snapped the green beans. So you have a green bean like this. Most of the time they're bigger. But this end right here that came off of the vine, you simply snap that off. You can throw it away. If you have chickens or goats or hogs, they'll eat it. And then you just take the green bean and you snap it. How big you snap it, how small, that's up to you. I recommend snapping them in pieces that will fit into your mouth. But there again, size preference is up to you. So all right, so there's my 4 quarts that make up 1 gallon. Now our ½ cup vinegar. And a 1/3 cup of non-iodized plain salt. Clearly it doesn't have to be exact. Just close enough. Alright, get that going. You definitely want your salt and everything to dissolve. It'll take a little while for that to get going. And then once this starts coming to a boil, then you add your beans in. I just finished up rinsing our zucchini and squash from the garden. Figured I had some time to kill while I was waiting on the beans to start boiling. There's the zucchini and squash. I actually have a question for y'all. So I'm looking for a way that I can put these zucchini and squash up in the freezer. We have tried it before where we basically cook them down. I call it smothered. I like smother frying them, but I know that's not what it's called. That's just what I call it. Where you cook them down until they're almost like mush, and then you freeze them that way. But when I did that before, and I took them out and thawed them, and we tried to eat them again, they were just like water, and all of them were ruined. So if y'all have any ideas or tips how we can freeze the zucchini and squash, please let me know. You can send an email, you can just comment below the video, however you prefer, but definitely interested in finding a useful and successful way to put up these squash and zucchini, because right now they're coming out of our ears. Steve went out there Sunday morning and picked 2 5-gallon bucketfuls. So he's been taking them to work, trying to just give them to people so that they don't go to waste. But yes, I definitely want to find a way to put them up in the freezer so that we can enjoy them year round. All right, well, we finished up for today. We got all the beans canned. We ended up with 18 quarts sitting back here behind me. We had already done 15, so that's 33 quarts that we've already put up this year, which is awesome. Um, we'll still have to put up more beans because there's still plenty of blooms out there. There's tons of little beans that still need more time to grow, so we should, if nothing happens, we should have a really good stand of green beans this year. And it makes us really happy when we can have good years like this, and put up enough food so that if next year something happens and we don't have a good stand, we've still got some food to fall back on. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I'm about to start dinner, and I will catch y'all next time. Bye, y'all.